Well, sorry. Thank you all for being here today for this week's or this month's Communicators Check-in. I'm Vicki Palmer with AURP and happy to be here with you all today. Nice to see a new face. We have Eric joining us today. So Eric, just so you know, the Communicators Check-in and the peer-to-peers, we have speakers, that come in occasionally, but otherwise it's a roundtable that, this isn't, just a reminder, a platform for you all to share, ask questions, frustrations that you might have, experiences that you're trying to work out. So it's really just trying to bring together some like minds to help you all. So why don't we go around and introduce each other or just introduce ourselves today. But the topic today, which was suggested to us, was workforce development and programs that you have in your parks and your communities. I know Miles was saying that he has some information he can share and was hoping to get some ideas from other people. So again, it's total sharing, and feel free to ask any questions that you like. So why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? Miles, calling on you.
Thank you. Sorry, it'll take me a second each time to unmute.
Oh.
And apologies if I interrupt anybody. I can only peripherally see who's talking. Miles Thomas. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Governmental Affairs for the Port of Benton in Washington, Eastern Washington State, and also serve as the Executive Director for the Tri-Cities Research District. Thanks.
I'm just going to have everybody introduce themselves. So go round robin. So
Eric. We'll go next. I'm Jordan Peterson with TUF.
And Michael Haddo. I'm with TUF as well. I'm an analyst, and Jordan's our VP of real estate.
And for those of you who we haven't met, we are based in Atlanta, but have a couple of properties and research parks around the country. So I'll let whoever wants to go next go.
I'll go ahead and go. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bloom. I'm with the KU Innovation Park. So we're a relatively new member. I think we joined back in maybe September, October. But we're affiliated with the University of Kansas, and we're in Lawrence, Kansas. But we're kind of a unique organization. We're a kind of a coalition nonprofit that's independent of the university, with the city, the county, the Chamber of Commerce, and the university all on the board in equal capacity. So we have a build to scale grant, and workforce development is a part of that. And so we're trying to figure out exactly how to build that aspect of it and deploy that funding.
Great, if I can jump in. My name is Martin Ewell. I'm Executive Director of something called Clean Tech Commons, which unsurprisingly is a clean technology focused brand new research park being developed on land owned by Trent University here in Peterborough, Ontario in Canada. We're an hour and a half northeast of Toronto. And our focus is clean, green, low carbon, and sustainable technology from a research, innovation, commercialization, and entrepreneurship perspective. And I'm joined by my fabulous colleague, Isabel, who can introduce herself.
Thanks, Martin. I work as a freelance writer for Trent University, and with the focus on research mostly, and of course Clean Tech Commons, because those who know Martin knows he needs all the support he can get. So yeah, I support communications around Clean Tech Commons and from a Trent University perspective. Next person.
How about Kate?
Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, no, I don't care. I'll go. I'm Jordan Farrell. I'm the Director of Communications and Park Programs for the West Virginia Regional Technology Park. Our park was formerly Union Carbide as well as Dow, and then Dow donated it to the state of West Virginia. And the West Virginia Regional Technology Park Corporation was formed. We have a community and technical college, as well as about 20 plus other tenants with a variety of industries.
I'm Kate Engel. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Communication for Nebraska Innovation Campus located in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Thank you, Diana.
And I'm Diana. I'm the Meetings and Membership Manager at AURP, and the one that you can come to with any questions about membership, billing, anything about events, anything AURP related, you can always reach out.
Sounds great. Great. Well, it's nice to see you all again. So again, I'm going to open this up to you all. What are you all doing with your development plans at your communities, your parks? What are you thinking about? What are you hoping to move forward with? What are you brainstorming on? Miles, I think you.
Yeah, I can.
You are there.
I can
Okay.
jump in.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you there, Miles?
Yes. No. You can hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
No. Okay. Sorry. Apologies all. This is my transition time almost every day to get home to our infant. I am in the afternoon, so I'm almost always transiting somewhere back and forth with her. So I'll give a little bit of background because workforce development has been a huge piece of my work lately. So a couple of the things we're doing, Port of Benton and the Tri-Cities Research District were recently awarded through Department of Commerce for the state and EDA a foundational money to create a innovation cluster in Washington around clean energy technology development. While a little cumbersome of a topic for some, we are a big nuclear hub. The Hanford site is in our community, but we are also participating in a lot of projects for advanced new reactor technology and are the destination site for one of the US Department of Energy's advanced reactor demonstration projects. So as part of that cluster development, we are kind of leaning up resources for this nascent developing industry, not only nuclear, but also components of clean energy and hydrogen, battery development, battery storage, hydropower. It kind of runs the gamut. Our first foray is a clean energy supplier alliance, developing networks for independent private industry to have access to the training and certifications that their employees will need in transitioning and reskilling from traditional nuclear to new nuclear, and working with a variety of folks to develop programs. We have also recently started a program that with Washington State University to sponsor them in offering professional skill development and reskilling for the wine industry, which we have 300 wineries in a 60-mile radius of Tri-Cities. No, the wine does not glow. And also in hospitality and customer service development, and are looking to start the same with Columbia Basin Technical College, developing their programs more aligned with traditional industry and manufacturing. Those are jointly sponsored by the Port of Benton, Port of Pasco, the Research District, 4 of our cities, and soon our Visitors and Convention Bureau, collectively sponsoring about $100,000 in student tuition for their participation in certificate programs. this is just a start and we're just trying to get things moving. I think the biggest challenge we face is probably similar to all of us, but there's this across industry, a mandate of each program needing to have its own workforce development programming and certification background. But nobody can for certain define what they want those programs to have, or they can't agree on what aspects are most important that also keep butts and seats for the university and colleges to make it financially suitable for them to offer that programming to a wide variety of folks that are entering new industry. And that's all I can think of while driving.
Kate, did you have something similar going on in Nebraska?
Me or Kate?
No, Kate. Kate.
Kate.
Uh-oh. We lost her. Anybody else have something similar? What about in West Virginia? Because I know there's been a lot going on
Yes,
there.
so we in March were awarded an Appalachian Regional Commission Power Grant to work with the Robert C. Byrd Institute, which also is very close. They have a they're on our site. We don't own their building or anything, but they're actually going to be in one of our facilities. And the grant allows us to work with them to create a high technology manufacturing training program. So they'll be on site to develop workforce and do like CNC welding, those types of programs and training. And then we've always had a great relationship with our community and technical college on campus, as well as just around the state. You know, of course, they're a tremendous asset to have here. They have an ATC here as well, where we can connect either people in the community or industries that are coming here or choosing the park or the region to be trained here. So Toyota has a long-standing relationship with Bridge Valley in the park, and they have, you know, they have a line in Buffalo. They have a huge facility here in Buffalo, but they bring their employees here to the park through Bridge Valley to be trained on like a mini line, and they can get paid to do that on our campus, and then they go back to work. And so we've just always had a really good partnership with them as well to develop programs even or develop curriculums to fit the needs of the industries that are coming to the park in the region.
But so you work with community colleges, you mentioned also. Do you work with all your high schools in the area too, or
we aren't, but I've been here since June, and as part of my role is to engage the community a bit more, just because again, where the site was historically a closed facility for Union Carbide and Dow, you know, the community still, even 10 years later, just assumes it's a closed facility unless you know a student of Bridge Valley or you work here. You don't realize that it's an open campus. So that's really one of my goals long term, is to get the community re-engaged with the campus. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is, again, we've partnered with Bridge Valley, our community and technical college that's on our campus. And we have a new building that's being built for the National Weather Service. And as part of that building, we added NOAA's Science on a Sphere display. If anybody's ever heard of it, but it's a giant globe that it's just a sphere that sits in the middle of the room. It projects Earth and planetary data. And so we're going to engage high schoolers, middle schoolers through Bridge Valley and ourselves by having that display on campus. We're really excited about it. It's actually being installed in 2 weeks, so we haven't got that program up and running yet, but certainly a way that we're going to be able to touch those high schoolers in our area.
Have you been to the University of Oklahoma in Norman and seen it there?
No.
They have it there. They have a NOAA office.
We're really excited about it.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is fun. That's good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. How about you, Eric?
I'm here to steal all your ideas. We used to be this organization has been around for maybe 10 or 15 years, but it was previously the Bioscience and Technology Business Center, and it was pretty small staff. We had one building, right? We're on private land that it's adjacent to the KU campus in Lawrence. And so we've kind of just mostly had very ad hoc team of professionals that will help companies and just do whatever we can to help them. And we've kind of gotten to a scale where that's not really a sustainable model anymore. And so we're building more formal programming and formal systems. And so we've got we can't see it, but we have a building that's nearing completion, our first expansion facility next door that'll be open this summer. And so with that, we'll get a lot of space back in our incubator building as companies move over to the new building that have grown and expanded. And so back in October, we started a EDA Build to Scale award. And most of that was predicated around making this transition from the BTBC to the KU Innovation Park. And so we've made that transition, and that's gone really well. And even just that little bit of kind of external communication has completely changed the demand scenario and overwhelmed us. So we have not been able, we just get inquiries that we've never had before. And so that's a great problem to have.
Right.
But we also have, we have a lot of partnerships that are kind of soft with other organizations. So we have a technical training institute here that we're really close with, but we don't have any kind of formal relationships. And so we're just trying to figure out kind of creative ways to formalize some of these programs and support the companies in the park. We're kind of in this perpetual chicken egg situation where we don't quite have scale to support apprenticeship or placement programs in workforce development, but we do have companies that are struggling to hire workers. And so I'm just kind of here open to any and all suggestions that I might hear. And then interestingly, you mentioned the Weather Service. We've also been working with the National Weather Service office that's in Topeka. They've talked about relocating a portion of their research division to Lawrence. And so I think this would be more of a scientific research and testing facility, but we've been just now getting into that process and trying to figure out how to deal with GSA and getting a space for them when we don't have, in a future building that doesn't necessarily exist yet.
I think Steven's in another meeting is what it says. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, Isabel, what do you do up north?
That would be more a question for Martin, but the way Clean Tech Commons will be structured, individual tenants will be more responsible for job creation. So the whole workforce development piece doesn't really tie in with us directly.
Right.
Yeah.
Did any of you have any adversaries? I know that Isabel, that was more with the clean tech and things like that, but has anybody had any experiences with the neighborhoods that you have that really the buy-in from the stakeholders within the communities? I know that, yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, I know that the tech parks had something similar.
We've had interesting ones where from the student community side, they kind of view commercialization as a negative thing. So I would be interested to know how other university-based research parks approach that, or if you've had similar experiences where you have a bit of a negative connotation from the student community side. We're at a point where we're even steering away from the word commercialization just because it always evokes negative comments whenever we say something like that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So if anyone else has experienced that, please share your advice.
Right.
Isabel, I sort of wonder if is that a matter of marketing? I've heard a lot of people avoid the commercialization phrase and talk about bringing innovations to the market, bringing innovations to.
That's exactly what we say it now.
Interesting.
that being that connection between from the lab and the research point of view and bringing that innovation to the market where it's needed. And that seems to go down okay, but as soon as you use the word commercialize, it's like a swear word.
Same thing, just more syllables, right?
Same thing, just using different words. That's what we're doing.
Hey, Kate, what's going on in your world?
We just opened a hotel, so that's been exciting. Well, there's a hotel located on Nebraska Innovation Campus, and it opened last week or 2 weeks ago. So that's been fun. Trying to help them get staff hired. Obviously, that's, I think, probably a challenge for everybody, but especially in the service industry. So helping them promote that however we can and try to get that going. So it's been exciting.
And Mary, are you there?
Yeah, I just got in here from another meeting, so.
Oh, no, happy to have you. Yeah, we were just talking about different workforce programs that you may have, or thoughts or struggles.
So I came from the research park at Auburn, and the place that I am now, like workforce development is actually one of the mission focus areas for Hudson Alpha. So there's a whole education outreach program here that's everything from like K-12 field trips and kits that can go out to classrooms to kind of broad community education about what genetic and genomic innovations can do for you, for your personal health, for agriculture, just for all kinds of different things. But that's a very different situation than what most university-based research parks or innovation districts are in. And it's directly because Hudson Alpha is so tightly focused on life sciences and genomics and biotech. Right. So it's a nice situation to be in. At the same time, though, broadly, I don't think people think of Huntsville, Alabama, whenever they think of a strong life sciences biotech workforce. So even with all of those efforts, do we have a crowd of folks here that everybody recognizes? We don't. They know this town for rockets and space.
Right. Yeah. I have been there and I think it's amazing. So, and I've been to Hudson Alpha, so, I'm a little biased, but
thank you.
You're welcome. So how do you all work with your stakeholders then in your communities to really get that word out?
Specifically
Anywhere,
at Hudson Alpha,
anywhere, all of
for
you.
everybody?
Yeah, everybody.
We've been working with, we're actually in the midst right now of meeting with what we feel like our partner organizations. So like here in Huntsville, the Huntsville-Madison County Chamber of Commerce is actually who owns Cummings Research Park. So, the Huntsville Chamber, City Economic Development, County Commission, going on up to the state level, State Department of Commerce, just to make sure that they're talking about us the way that we want to be talked about. Because a lot of people just sort of, even if they've come and visited us, it gets lumped into, all that smart stuff that those smart people are doing out there. And there's not, it just gets like homogenized.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Vicki, I'm sort of curious for the group. There's two projects that we're working on where workforce development is sort of front and center. And I'd love to see if either of these stories resonate with anybody. One is in the city of Pittsburgh, which has sort of this really growing high-tech innovation budding ecosystem. You've got Carnegie Mellon has this specialty in AI and robotics, and then Pitt has this great life science ecosystem. there's sort of there are two economies in Pittsburgh now. So there are people associated with the universities and these knowledge ecosystems, and then you've got the blue collar sort of industrial Rust Belt aspect of Pittsburgh. And there's this growing sense in the community of saying, okay, we have all these great minds, we have all these great innovations happening in the city, but what's it doing for the person on the street? What's it doing for that family that worked in the steel mill for generations? And so what we're working on in the very early stages of is a concept for a workforce development center that would, train people to be lab technicians, train people to work on bioreactors, train people to do the blue collar jobs of the life sciences industry. And so in that case, it's sort of you could call it DEI, but it's really, it's how do we include all walks of life in the community in this very high-tech life sciences ecosystem, so that can truly be a rising tide that lifts all boats. And then in a separate story, we're working with a couple of local counties, primarily rural areas in southern Indiana, outside of a Naval Surface Warfare Center at the Crane Naval Base in Indiana. So IU and Purdue, among others, are involved in this. There are a couple thousand high-tech engineers working on this base, and for our contractor community outside, it's, Mary, it's sort of like the Redstone Arsenal and Cummings on a much, much, much smaller scale, but is growing in importance within the national network of defense labs. So there's talk of setting up microelectronics foundries as we bring that sort of stuff back on shore. There's significant need for more specialists in AI and computer sciences and microelectronics. So our question is, how do we make sure that there's a workforce that's prepared to move into all these things that are being built, and all of these projects are being proposed by both federal and private sources? And so we are approaching stakeholders like the university and the state's community and technical college system. So I'm interested in hearing other stories, if any of you have some best practices or lessons learned to share about how do you get the university systems to work with the technical college systems? Who takes the lead? Who coordinates and plays the liaison between private industry that's driving the job creation of a certain type in a local market, and the institutions of education who can do the training? Building a program from scratch, how do you bring the stakeholders to the table? Are there lessons learned from that process that any of you have seen?
I'll jump in. I may not be the best person to talk about the details, but I certainly can get you connections to people who can, Jordan. But we're facing that in this entire region that I live in West Virginia. We have coal miners who are displaced. They don't have jobs. And for the past decade, we've been trying to figure out a way, how do we retrain them and create a ready workforce for these other types of jobs that we're attracting here. We've got green bus energy coming here. How do we connect them? And one of the ways that's happening again is engagement of the community and technical college. And that starts at our state level. So our state economic development department and Bridge Valley, which is again our community and technical college here on campus, they sit down, they have meetings directly with this business, and they come up with an actual training plan so that folks in our community can be ready for this company that's building this facility. We've also got programs and nonprofits that go into these very rural communities and counties in West Virginia and teach, coding, a plethora of different programs. So we've seen them go directly to the community itself and have these programs and teach these programs. But places like the Robert C. Byrd Institute for High Manufacturing, those types of organizations have been really helpful at bridging the gap, engaging universities and our community technical college. They are affiliated with Marshall University, but they've just been great to kind of bring everybody together. And I will brag about West Virginia. That's one thing that we all are very close knit. So We can have the president of Marshall University and WVU and community technical college and our state representatives all in the same room together and have discussions, and it's very easy and quick to do. So, but I can't go into detail about it. I've not been directly involved, but I know that is something that our region, our state's very familiar with, and I'd be happy to connect you with some people.
Jordan, I appreciate that. I've got some great friends in West Virginia and have spent many a fun day skiing in the mountains up there as well. So fond of the state. When you described the work that your local community and technical colleges are doing around a couple of those sort of clean tech, job creations, do you find that their client is really the company? Is the company hiring people and then sending them to the technical college for training, or are they developing a curriculum and going out in the community saying, hey, if you're looking for a job, if you want to prepare yourself for this future when it comes, come sign up, pay tuition. What's the mix of students that you think are coming straight out of the community versus being referred and maybe paid for by the employer?
So I think that traditionally Bridge Valley would develop a program for the company would be the client, and then they would bring their employees or new trainees there and or have students being trained to then work there. I don't know the exact mix, but I know they offer both. But I would say more so than not, the company comes here, they have a workforce, and then they're sending them there for training. And oh, by the way, ex-student, you can also go into this program or apply for this program. But I also know from my time at the state, when P&G decided to move to the Eastern Panhandle in the Martinsburg area, one of the community and technical colleges there, I believe, developed a program for P&G and then went out into the community, just the opposite of what you just, the two, said, hey, come here, come to this program. P&G needs people, we will train you, and then you'll go and work there. So the state has seen a healthy mix in the community and technical college system. I think is prepared for both and has seen both. I don't have that exact ratio. But I think that what Bridge Valley is trying to do with this new green energy is similar to what P&G did. Let's develop a curriculum, let's develop a program so that when our facility is built, workforce is ready to be hired.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is Leah Burton's not on here, is she?
And I was hoping she would be.
Because they've got that Golden Leaf, whatever, biomedical manufacturing center at Centennial campus that does a really great job. Like it has the people working at the kind of manufacturing technician level, and they're also training with the, I guess, like manufacturing engineering students who would be the ones to set up and troubleshoot the line. And I've toured that place, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was really like the folks who took the lead on getting that together were the pharmaceutical manufacturers in the area who did not have a workforce. And then the state and Golden Leaf got behind it, but like North Carolina kind of has a great workforce development funding situation with the tobacco settlement money and the way that the state structured that.
Yeah.
I'm curious if anybody knows of other examples like that. I mean, if you're not familiar with it, I think that's a shining example of, public-private partnership to solve the problem of workforce development. The private industry said, we have a need and we can direct the curriculum, and the state said, great, we'll put the capital in and build a facility and let the university system run the program. Has anybody seen anything like that, either where you are or anywhere else you've traveled?
Here in Alabama, we have AIDT. It stands for Alabama Industrial Training. Okay, Industrial Development and Training, maybe. But it's a program run by the state that whenever a large employer is recruited to the state, they work with that employer to set up the training programs necessary for workers to be able to function, you know, and they get the exact equipment that those workers are going to be working on. I was actually just out at the robotics center yesterday. They're AIDT centers all over the state. I know there's one down in Mobile that deals with underwater welding because of the Austell shipyards that's down there. There's a robotics one up here in Huntsville that does all kinds of like PLC programming for robotics and, you know, teaching people best practices for floor safety whenever they're dealing with, whether it's robot welding or just robots moving large panels of, because automotive manufacturing is such a big deal in Alabama. I think there's an aircraft maintenance and repair one. But like, yeah, I mean, AIDT set up a custom center whenever Airbus was recruited down to Mobile. They did all the job training and it's done like free of charge. It's one of the state's big economic recruitment tools that the Department of Commerce runs. But they don't like, it's not like they handle that education through the 2-year system or through the 4-year system. They've like built their own vertical to do it.
And I
Georgia
think
has a
Montgomery
program called
College.
Quick-
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jordan.
Vicki, I was just gonna say, Georgia has a program called Quick Start that sounds like it's got sort of similar aims. Go ahead, Vicki.
No, I was just going to say Montgomery College, which is a community college up, you know, outside of Baltimore. Martha Schoonmacher was a former board member, but they had something very similar, a very unique community college that had a medical campus. And so they, you know, because they are such a diverse community and, you know, and hearing her talk about that, just the community college, you know, and the outreach that they've done with a lot of different nonprofits. So they have even diverse workforce training, you know, in that community, but really trying to get all the way from the start, also, you know, retraining, but again, getting into, you know, the first fruits of those younger generations so that they can get them educated too in those, you know, underprivileged populations in that community. So, yeah. And I think, was it Johns Hopkins with, I mean, Scott Levitan has talked, you know, a great bit about that East Partnership. I know I'm not saying it right. Program that he has there. It was really interesting, you know, in Tucson, and I haven't heard, you know, much about the workforce training, so I'm gonna have to follow up on that. But we had a large plot of land, and I know that Tuff is aware of this too, down closer to our airport, that was endowed to the University of Arizona. And they've built the bridges, if you've heard about the bridges, but, you know, hearing former CEOs of Tech Parks Arizona talk about the communities that were fighting it. And I did sit in on some of the public hearings about that, and, you know, really having to almost like, you know, give us firstborn and, you know, bloods, you know, to guarantee that there would be workforce training for that community, you know, because there's a lot of different neighborhoods surrounding that, again, that have been receiving a lot of promises, but no outcomes. So for decades. So I'll have to follow up and give you updates on that.
And so in Lawrence, I give you the two that come to mind. So Lawrence is kind of probably really different from Pittsburgh, and we don't have a large population center. I think Lawrence has 100,000 people, and we're about 30 minutes outside of Kansas City. So it's a separate community. There's distance between the two. And so the Peasley Technical Training Institute is the kind of main workforce development organization here. And I think the way that they first got started was that a German, the story that I heard, I don't know how accurate this is, but that a German company that was wanting to build wind turbines was they were trying to recruit them here, and they got right to the last stages of the deal, and they said, so where's your workforce development training program? We need to see it. And they didn't have one. And so they lost the deal. And so after that, there was this initiative to build this center. And so because of the Lawrence's kind of unique demographic and geographic location, they started out as basically a community college aggregator. So they would kind of they would host courses from all the community colleges from the entire region, from Kansas City and from West Kansas as well, for whatever programs were kind of in need. And they've since really developed into their own. And so now, we don't have one major employer. I think like 40% of the employment in Lawrence is the university, and then like retail and food service in that sector. And so basically they kind of, it's more grassroots. And so, if there's a series of, maybe there's like auto mechanics in the region that just don't have enough workforce, they will like literally donate equipment to Peaslee to build this operation for the specific thing. And so I think they have that for a variety of things. They have, trucking. So they just kind of look for whatever, they're really in touch with the needs of the employers in the region. And they're just constantly changing and building new program and scaling up and scaling down just to meet the need of the local community. So it's really, and then the one in Kansas City that we were kind of hoping to bring here is called Skilled KC. And they're focused more on that, they kind of, outside of the 2-year system, they kind of created their own certification program. So they like to focus on kind of underrepresented sections of the workforce, like that are maybe older, and reskilling them. So, identifying jobs that have pretty short certification pathways to good paying jobs. So I think they have CAD programs, they have some cybersecurity stuff, and then they have like lab tech programs. And their goal is to, move people really quickly and at very minimal cost, like through the certification process and into a job. And I think they make partnerships with companies so that there's jobs waiting on the back end for the students, rather than the companies kind of bringing the students.
You said that program's in Kansas City. What was the name of it?
It's called Skilled KC. And I think they're a subsidiary of the Kauffman Foundation, if you're familiar with Kauffman. But I think they just went through a really massive kind of like organizational restructure, Skilled KC. And so their programming, I think, is changing. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like.
Anything else from anybody? I know we're a little bit early, but I just wanted to reach out and see if there was any topics that you wanted to talk about in future months. If there's anything that you're struggling with or you want to propose to the group that you're all working on, or we can try and find an outside speaker on something. Is there anything in particular?
Some of the other topics that we have received in the past that I think we will probably start addressing in future communicator check-ins would be different marketing strategies, but on a national scale and not just within your own community. Some other, again, DEI and demographics within your community and how you're involving different kinds of people. That has also been a very big topic. And I think DEI is always a big topic. So it's something that we can address again. It has been discussed at spring training and at different other webinars. But if there is a particular topic about DEI that you want to discuss, we can also do that. And then also STEM education has been brought up as another topic in the future. So, if one of those sounds appealing to you, if there's something else that you would like for us to look into and get a speaker for, let us know.
I think for us, the DEI topic is always important. We have, we have the city and the county and the university are very focused on that. And we struggle with that a little bit just because, if we don't have entrepreneurs from diverse communities come to us and try to start companies, then our makeup of our system reflects that. And there's not a lot that we've been able to do to change that on our side of things. And so, I don't know what strategies there are to kind of help with that, other than just to be focused on it. And then the other thing is, if there are ways to partner with the K-12, the secondary schools, we've started to have some really initial conversations about, how can we, and this is related to DEI. So maybe how can we get into the school systems and have kids understand that there are options, for technical training. You don't have to go to KU necessarily, which is, we're a university town. And so, how can we partner with them and kind of bring them closer to industry and let them see what it's like and maybe what the opportunities are that they would never have thought about. And how can we create those opportunities for them?
Mary, do you want to talk about what you do at Hudson Alpha?
What do I do at Hudson Alpha?
No, I mean, no, I know about some of the STEM programs that you put together in the summer camps and things like that.
Well, yeah, so that's not my,
Okay, well,
I
didn't-
work in economic development, but I'd be happy to trot somebody from education outreach out to talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that you have some summer camps that you put together, so. or
Yes.
not you, but.
I've sent my kid, one of my kids has done 2 weeks of summer camp here. She extracted DNA from a strawberry one week and she made E. coli glow in the dark the other week.
Oh,
So
nice.
Oh, fun.
Cool.
it has not led to an interest in her working in a lab, but you win some, you lose some.
Darn it.
That's so funny.
Well, great. Well, we'll put
Big-
some topics.
I would throw one more suggestion in the box that's unrelated to anything we talked about, but I guess for lack of a better term, I'd call it ecosystem mapping. I talked to Austin Beggs about this when we were together in Phoenix, and he might be a good speaker on the topic.
Yeah.
I know Stiletto, does a little bit of that
Yeah.
as a consultant, but
Right.
so many people are out there trying to figure out how do I program events that are relevant to my community? How do I bring more people into the innovation park? How do I stimulate demand or maybe find it in corners that don't exist? So that's a topic that I think would be of interest to startups and people, trying to maybe kickstart some activity in an existing park.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for passing that along. I know Austin likes to speak. So,
Oh, yeah. So do what you wish with that.
yeah.
And if Austin watches the recording, I think the world of Austin. So I would tune in to see him speak.
I do too. So perfect. Well, great. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today. Any other closing comments from anybody or information you'd like to share?
If not, I'll just make some quick AURP housekeeping remarks. So we did have our peer-to-peer scheduled for tomorrow, but I think there may be some issues with our speakers. So that may actually be canceled and rescheduled to later on this May or the first week of June. But be sure to be on the lookout for our emails. I will send out that information. So if you're interested in joining the peer-to-peer tomorrow, that may be rescheduled to later on this month. And that will be focusing on the new Regional Tech Hub program that NSF is coming out with. So be on the lookout for those emails and for any updates. Some other events that we have coming up, which you've obviously have heard on and off today. Next week, we have our Insights into Research Parks at the University of Delaware. So registration is still open for that, but we will be closing that up soon so that we can finalize our attendee list. So if you are interested in attending, please register within the next day or so. And we also have our BioHealth Caucus coming up in June in San Diego in conjunction with the Bio Convention. Again, if you're interested in that, registration is open. It's a 1.5-day program. So if you're interested in that, that's also on our website. And as always, we have our communicator check-ins and peer-to-peers the first Tuesday and usually the second Wednesday of every month. So again, if you're not a part of our newsletter, we'll send updates out through there. And again, this was recorded and it will be uploaded on our YouTube page at the end of the week.
Great. Thank you. Jordan, I wanted to show you at the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, thank you.
Is that what you're doing also?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Ours will be, theirs looks like it's in a really big room. Ours is going to be in like a very compact little room.
It's fun.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. I can't wait.
Yeah. It was in their foyer, their lobby. So
Oh, that's really cool though. Something really
Yeah.
cool to show people as they come in.
yeah, they have the Weather Center in that building, and they have like Radar Institute and things like that. So it was really fun to go visit.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you, everybody. Hope to see some of you next week in Delaware at the University of Delaware. So have a good day, and we'll talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
everyone. Nice meeting all
Thank
of you.
you.
Thank you
Thanks.
all.
Nice meeting you.